my special guests, Marlee Matlin and John Rich from Celebrity Apprentice, and Jack Jason, who's Marlee's interpreter. And this remains an extraordinary thing to watch. And I think viewers watching this, I think later we'll tell them how they can help with your charity and your charity, but it's going to help a lot of deaf people in this country, and it's great to see. Let me ask you both what you learned about yourselves from taking part in Celebrity Apprentice, because it's a brutal competition. It's reality TV at its most savage. No sleep, incredibly hard work, mental challenges, competition with often erratic people. What did you learn about yourselves and your character?
I think, well, coming into the show, I knew that I would try to first raise as much money as I can for my charity, which, again, I said it was Starkey Hearing Foundation based in Minnesota. And then I wanted to make sure that all these kids got the hearing aids, kids who can't afford them, whether they're in the United States or in developing countries. So that's the first thing I knew in my head. That was the purpose I came to the show. And as for me, as an actor, as an author, as whatever, and being a mom, a wife, I knew all that and bring that skill set. But once the show started, I thought, okay, this also involves working with people. And you have to help them as much as they have to help you. And you have all sorts of different personalities, all sorts of people coming to the table. And I think what I learned about myself is that I never really totally listened to myself so much, focused on myself so much, so intensely, and had an opportunity to look at who I am and why I'm here and why I wanted to do this or why I wanted to listen to this person as I did on this show, and whether this was right or whether this was wrong. This is how I think. And bottom line is I learned that I have become extremely unselfish and that I am extremely willing. It's not about me. Basically, at the end of the day, it's not about me.
You've had a tough life. I mean, I read your book a couple of years ago. You know, in that you detailed a couple of times when you were young, when you were molested, once by a female babysitter, once by a male teacher. You know, you then went into a heavy drugs period, a part of which you subscribed to that period when you were molested. You had a very abusive relationship with William Hurt that you talked about very frankly, a lot of physical violence. You've been through a lot, and I was curious to see, knowing that background to you, how tough you were in this competition, how emotionally strong. As people like Meatloaf were sobbing in vans and stuff, you just kept tough, kept focused. And that surprised and impressed me, given what you've been through.
All of the things that you've mentioned and that I've gone through has given me a thick skin as an individual. And anything else that might come my way, I mean, if you're speaking about whatever it is, I know exactly what's going out there. It's all there on the table. And whatever happens on this show, I mean, it's like a piece of cake. You can't compare it. Not at all. So I think that's why I grew up. I grew up quite quickly. And I grew up more knowing that it's not about me, I guess, at the end of the day. It's about the deaf kids, and it's about the deaf world. Simple as that. I think that's one advantage that I had.
And John, you've also said the same thing about your charity. It was always for the charity in the back of your mind, and I get that feeling. And I went down to San Antonio in Texas and saw these incredibly badly wounded soldiers that I was raising the money for the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund. And it's one of the most moving things I've ever done in my life, to actually see the people who would benefit from this fundraising. I needed no more galvanizing to try and win the competition. But I also learned about myself that, you know, when it comes to it, I was incredibly competitive to win that. Forget everything else. I wanted to win. By the end, I've been through so much, and I see it in both of you.
Yeah.
That same thing.
It will push you to new levels of competitiveness. I truly believe that. You know, I want to win this competition. I want that $250,000. I want it. I want to take that check to the kids at St. Jude. I can tell you that I think part of my ability to get this far was the way I was raised. I believe in God, I believe in country, and I believe in kids.
You're son of a preacher.
My dad's a preacher. I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, and West Texas, and you know, we worked and scrapped for everything we had, and hard work and a hard work ethic is how I have been raised my entire life,
and
thanks to my parents.
It's so much so that I've read that, you know, you have said publicly that you've written songs which your father has deemed potentially offensive, and so you haven't recorded them.
Right. Yeah, I have enough. I mean, I respect his opinion. I said, if you think this song is something that is too much and gonna embarrass, you know, you or anyone else, I'll never record it. Absolutely.
Has he been happy?
Respect is something that's missing in this world right now.
I agree with you.
You have to respect.
And you've been very respectful on the show, despite incredible provocation sometimes.
Yeah. You have to have respect in this world. You know, as early as today, I called a lady, yes, ma'am. She said, ma'am, what do you... I said, well, where I come from, we refer to ladies as ma'am. And I can compete all day with Marley, and trust me, I've got hell at my heels. I'm coming at this lady. We're going to battle it out at the table, and somebody's going to emerge victorious. But it has nothing to do with do I respect Marlee Matlin. I have mad respect for this woman. And she is a ma'am, as far as I'm concerned. This world is too light on respect.
We only have one man in England, the Queen. She's the only lady who is called ma'am. Just as a little aside to the conversation.
I'll make sure I try not to say that when I visit.
And Marley, I mean, it's interesting. I was reading again this morning about you. One of the more amusing aspects, you found happiness with your husband. You have these 4 children. And yet you've been hit, while you've been doing this show, by a big financial crisis in your life, haven't you?
You know, the financial crisis is what it is. It's funny because, I mean, it's not funny, but one thing I'm glad about is that when I found out that a newspaper decided to poke into my tax issues, and they called me and asked for my response, I said, I know what's going on in my life. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm not able to do at that time. But people somehow thought that I was surprised by it. No, I've made payment plans, and I announced it before they did, and I was glad to take care of the message. Listen,
just to remind people, it's a $50,000 tax bill that you got behind on your tax. You've had to sell your house.
But I'm paying for it, and I'm keeping my house, and I'm not losing my house, and there's no lien at this point that makes me want to lose a house. The $50,000 certainly is a lot of money, but compared to a lot of people in the entertainment business who are in millions of dollars of owing money, it's my business, and I chose, and I'm a proud American who is paying it back and made payment plans. Listen, I work my butt off every day throughout my career. It's not easy for work to come to me, and I have to really work, and that's why I'm always going to motivational speeches. That's why I'm having to leave my kids, whether it's their school play, because I have to work. I do have to work, and I'm going to continue to work. But for those Americans, I am paying my taxes, and I am paying my $50,000 back. Don't worry, I'm not going to jail. I'm not losing my house, and my kids and my husband are fine. Thank you very much.
Yay! All right.
Nicely, I would say nicely said, but you didn't even say it, really. You just had to give me the gesticulation. I got the point.
He had to say it.
We're going to take another short break. When we come back, I want to ask you what you think this will do for your careers going forward, because it does have an amazing effect. Look, I'm sitting here.
Available now at the Ovi store.
Go beyond borders. Roy Smotrich, CNN.
Now that we are in an individual situation, and I know that there is a tremendous amount of money on the line for my charity if I win, they will experience John Rich in a way they have not experienced him yet.
This sounds great. What are we going to do?
What am I going to do?
Yeah, I mean, if you're little John out there, you're thinking, John Rich is my mate.
Yeah.
My friend.
And I will continue to be
collaborators, but you're making it sound like some kind of mafia hit.
We're going after the prize. If I'm allowed to be in the final 2, I'm going after that $250,000 for St. Jude. That's it.
That was a clip from last Sunday's Celebrity Apprentice when I went back in to give John and Marley a grilling, which they survived, and you're in the final. Which is going to be very exciting.
Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on, absolutely. Bring it on, bring it on. Let me ask you both, John, let's start with you. You're quite a political figure, aren't you? I was surprised to read about all that. You take politics pretty seriously.
I think everybody should take politics seriously, no matter what your beliefs are, no matter if you're left, right, middle, don't know what you are. I think politics, you have to know what people stand for. You have to go vote. My whole thing is go vote. You know, I believe what I believe. Other people believe what they believe. But at the end of the day, you have to go vote.
We had a whole show yesterday about bankers and what happened in the financial crisis and how they've all been just giving themselves bonuses the first chance they got. What do you think of that?
Well, not real impressed with that. You know, I actually wrote a song that says, it talks about in the real world, people are losing their jobs, but in this make-believe world over here, they can still bonus themselves when everybody else is just getting slaughtered out here. And, you know, I play concerts all around the United States, and you see people scraping together money for weeks and weeks to get a concert ticket to come have a good time with their family, and to think that, you know, there's guys out bonusing themselves and getting on their G5 and going to the Bahamas is a pretty sickening thought, actually. I don't like it at all.
Marley, what do you hope this show will do for you?
I would hope that it would give me the recognition of showing who I am in real life, being, you know, Marlee Matlin, the deaf actress all my life who won an Oscar for Children of the Lesser God, and there you go. I mean, I want to go beyond the stereotype of who I am as a deaf person, as a person who can do anything except hear.
And John, what do you think?
I think there's a stereotype that comes with cowboy hats. I think there's a stereotype, you know, with Little John that comes with a guy with baggy pants and gold teeth. I think one great thing that's happened this season is some stereotypes have been successfully broken down. And, you know, everybody comes from a different place. They look like what they look like. They believe what they believe. But we all have heart and soul, and we all care about our charities. And at the end of the day, I do believe that's where we all come together on the same page.
Marley, difficult question for you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you could live without one of two men, your husband or Jack, who would it be?
I've had my husband for 18 years. I've had 4 kids with him. I'm an extremely happily married woman.
25 years.
I'd rather be without Jack if I was given the choice and keep my husband, Kevin. Thank you very much.
He's fired Jack.
You're out, Jack.
I can't believe you just shut Jack under the bus.
You're fired.
I'll tell you what, Jack. You know what you should do?
What?
You should just leave the set now.
Let's see what happens, right?
Then you change your mind.
No, clearly as an interpreter, people keep asking me that question. There is a business relationship that all deaf people have all the time when they go to work with an interpreter. And that's what I hope this shows for people who are deaf, that they need interpreters to go in. It's not an advantage. And that it's accessibility, it's the ramp, it's the braille, it's an interpreter, and it's an important role. And I'm glad that the show and the producers were kind enough to highlight that. They were very, very accommodating when it came to understanding the role of an interpreter. They got it like that. And you know what? It's like 2 + 2 = 4. They got it. And they made it work.
How do your children deal with it?
You mean deal with what? My celebrity or my deafness? Or my going away?
The deafness and the sign language. You know, how do you converse with them?
They don't know any other way. They don't know any other way. I mean, they were born into a family where the mother is deaf. They don't know.
Can they all do the sign language?
They sign if they feel like it. They sign if they feel like it.
If they don't want to listen to their mother, they don't bother, right?
No, listen, I can't. No, that's actually a good point. If they can see my sign language, I have to be careful when I'm talking. But when they go to friends' houses with hearing parents, I'll say, how did it feel? And they say, what do you mean, how did it feel? To have people who can hear around? They said, it's no big deal. It's just different. That's all. I mean, that's what it is. Mom is this way. Their parents are this way. It's just what they were born into.
And John, in the middle of all this, Donald Trump was rumored to be planning a run for the presidency. What do you think President Trump would have been like for this country?
I would have liked to have seen him in a debate. I'm disappointed that I don't get to see him in a debate. You know, he has autonomy in his business. He's Donald Trump, and he runs the Trump organization. And I really wanted to see him go head-to-head with other candidates and put him out there in the mix and see what he brought to the table, but we'll never see that.
I don't know about you, Marley, but I was incredibly impressed by Donald Trump in the boardroom scenes of The Apprentice. I mean, these go on for hours.
That was my favorite part of the show. The boardroom, I always look forward to. People were afraid, and they would walk and pace, and I said, no, when are we going to the boardroom? I love to see the debate. I love to see how he watched people, how he made decisions. He's a smart guy that way. In that aspect, he's very smart. I really enjoyed the boardroom. It was my favorite part of the room.
He used to play it like a viola, didn't he? I mean, he had no notes. He had a briefing, but he would just...
You can play the viola?
No, but he would play...
No, I'm just kidding.
Good. But he would just run the whole thing brilliantly, I remember thinking. It's why I'm a big fan of his, because I can see it at first hand for hours on end.
He does his homework. He really does.
What you're doing here is like a conductor, and that's exactly what he feels like. It's like he's conducting an orchestra, and it really is impressive how he can ask a question, get the